I want to show you the university. We've been talking so much in this interview. So this is the main campus of the University of McGill. It's in the middle of the downtown of the city. It's a quite important reference, and I have to say it's a touristic attraction. It's quite open, so anybody can go and just walk by. In front of this is the building of my school. It's the School of Population and Global Health, where I spend most of my days.
Thank you, Marley. I just want to continue talking about university.
Mm-hmm.
We are all students,
Mm-hmm.
but you're younger than me. And in my case, it's my first experience in a Canadian university at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have anything to compare that back home that
Mm-hmm.
maybe I can say. But I just want to know from your perspective, how was your university at BC, in comparison to a postgraduate here at McGill? I know the level is never the same undergrad and
Mm-hmm.
postgrad, but how was in the general sense, and how different it is from McGill?
Mm-hmm. As I mentioned already, I lived in Victoria, which is a very small, not very small, a smaller town, city. So because of that, the university is also smaller, and we are fortunate to have a lot of smaller classes, like small class, about 20 to 30 people in a higher level, like grade, not grade, third year and fourth year classes. We have smaller classes, which I really like about that. When I came into McGill, into the graduate program, I thought it would be something like that too, because my friend who were also doing her graduate study said that her class are about 20 people, but I went into the class with 70 people, and I thought, wow, this is so not what I was expecting.
So the difference was in terms of this is a big university, but what about the system? Because what surprised me most is like there's a lot of assignments in many classes. Like there's assignments here, assignments here, and and assignments are part of your a big score of your a big percentage of your score is based on your assignments,
Right.
which where I'm coming from, assignments are basically to make you understand and prepare more to practice what did you understand, but most of the scores are based on your exams, actually, not in assignments. So that was one thing that surprised me. Maybe it's more the Canadian university life.
I think in my undergraduate years, many of the class emphasize more on assignments too, because this way, if you have a lot of assignments and you only fail on one, you still have a lot of chance to make up for it. But I guess in graduate school, I don't know what's the difference. Maybe the class is bigger, there are less teacher assistant, or less, the teacher is more busy to grade the assignments, so they focus more on exams. I have no idea, but I always appreciate, if there's one thing that I can change with my last year in McGill, I would hope that there will be less emphasis on exams and more emphasis on assignments.
Yeah, that's interesting, because there's always this discussion about that one exam or one only opportunity does not qualify you.
Yeah, exactly.
And I have an interesting story which I failed one exam because I couldn't understand what were the I don't know if I told you, I didn't understand what were the indications, so I arrived with the wrong indication, so I failed. And fortunately enough, this exam didn't define, it was just like a 15%, I guess, or 20%. So I definitely agree. I guess teaching is evolving in that direction. And what about, was it hard, your life as undergrad? Did you work at the same time? You prioritize your studies? How was university life?
Good question. I never thought how privileged I was back then until I came here in Montreal, because I was living with my family. I don't have to think about what to eat for dinner. I can just go home anytime and there will be food for me. I don't have to clean my apartment. I can literally throw myself into studying and still be very healthy. And yeah, that is one of the biggest difference, I think, between my undergrad year and my graduate study. Yeah.
Now that you touch the family aspect, I just want to know. You know, the intention of this channel is telling stories about women. Like it can be anyone who feels like a woman, like a woman. But I just want to know, in your story, what were the women that defines you most, or that took a huge part of your story, that defines you to become the woman you are right now?
I think undoubtedly it will be my mom. My mom played a huge role in my life. Growing up, my mom was a very hands-on mom. She would review all my homework before I submitted it. She would even create mock exams and tests for me to do before the exam.
That's so nice. Is she a teacher?
No, she's not.
Oh my god.
She's not, but she always tried her best to make us the best. And even on vacation, she brought those magnetic numbers. Have you seen those that you put on the fridge? And then we will practice math on our vacation. She was really hands-on, and aside from academics, she has high expectation for me in terms of my behavior and manners. I already touched upon this earlier, that I was a kid with bad temper. And whenever I act out or disrespect others, she would be really disappointed at me. And then I transitioned into middle school. She took a step back from overseeing my academic life, and that was a time when I started to navigate how to independently study, how to take responsibility of my action. If I don't study now, then I will fail the exam, and also how to get back up from setbacks. And then we moved to Canada. My mom growing up has always been a woman who has control at everything. She is very good at what she's doing. But when we moved to Canada, I saw a new side of her. I saw a woman who is feared and uncertain about her life. But despite her own challenge, she has always prioritized her role as a mom. She would brave herself through difficult circumstances if it is for her children. And I know that she is certainly one of the most significant women in my life.
Oh wow.
And other than my mom, actually, when I moved to Canada for the first year, I lived with my aunt in Canada. They already established in Victoria for a couple of years because my parents have to go back to Hong Kong to finish some paperwork. So for the first year, my aunt took on the role of a parent to parent me and my sisters. So I think that is very unselfish of them to become a parent all of a sudden. They have no family of themselves. They are almost at retirement. They could have lived a comfortable life, but they decided to take on their needs and
to accept this huge responsibility of taking care of the girls.
We were teenagers, so teenagers comes with teenager problems, and they were very gentle with us and very caring. And I think, to answer your questions, there are a lot more women in my life that has an impact on my life, whether they play a significant role in my everyday life, or they are just women who briefly cross my path. But I think my mom and my aunts are some of the women who I can who are the most significant, who play the most significant role.
And I want to know what's the weight of punishment, not punishment, but what's the system of education that, because I see you and I can see a really disciplined girl, always on time for the assignment, not like me the very last time, always organizing your life, now putting a lot of effort. So what happened? How did your parents achieve to educate you in that way, that you are responsible for your own success or not, that you don't depend of others? And because you told me they weren't even in the middle of mid school, they weren't with you.
I think a lot of it is peer pressure, because you have a class of people who are doing well, or at least trying to do their best, and you have models around you and you kind of just go with the flow.
Yeah, you need to keep it up with everybody.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, I understand. I understand because, but at the same time, it's challenging for me to understand because my parents were not huge part of my education. What I have to say, they were always leaving me like because it wasn't a work for me to keep learning and keep being curious about everything. So I've never struggled academically. So I guess that's what they never. It's huge. Yeah, that's what I never needed. I never felt like I need this necessity of parents overseeing my education. And so I didn't see it. But at the same time, they have this role like discussing about society. So my feeling is my parents didn't push me to work hard, but at the same time they always push me to know more about what's happening in the society. I would say more my sensitive about others and my empathy. They help me develop my empathy and my interest in being having an active role in the society, having being someone who wants to change what's happening and not just passively seeing news or everything. So that's why I want my feeling. But I'm surprised you and do you remember like any fight as a teenager with your parents? Any big fights from you? Like
Fight.
what would be the
I think there can be many, but I don't know how to define a fight. How would you define a fight?
like for example maybe yourself, like I'm really like mad at my parents because they didn't let me do anything or because they think my friends are not the best.
Oh, I think I would never dare to think like that. My mom would kill me. But more so, my mom would be mad at me.
Oh,
So it's the other way. It's not like a me mad at my mom kind of situation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know what you mean. And let's go jump to the cultural difference you found the first time moving out from Hong Kong to Canada. And how was the process? You already told me it was challenging. What were the contrasts in general in terms of quality of life, the way you were used to live before and now living in Canada? How was this difference?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest difference is how that because I was a student back then, so a lot of the things that I can relate is back to the education system. The biggest difference is that I don't have to be the top of the class, but rather the education system here emphasize on enjoying being young, enjoying your classmate, enjoying your class, do things that you actually like. And I remember I had every grade you need to take I think 4 elective classes. Elective class mean like actually fun class, like dance, like music, like drama class, and
really?
I actually take it for fun. And I thought, wow, this is such a great difference.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yes. And I think I am very fortunate to have come from a path like this where I lived half of my life in Hong Kong and half of my life in Canada, because in Hong Kong we were trained or we were taught to be obedient and respectful, whereas in Canada or many of the North American culture emphasize a lot of freedom and creativity. And I get to learn both from each world, and I get to pick the best from each world and combine them together and live my life with a value like that. And I think that is beautiful and very, very fortunate.
I love it. I love this idea of having the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
But at the same time creating what is best for you at the same time. Maybe work ethics and studying the whole day was not best for me, but maybe, expressing myself because I'm shy and I'm learning this opportunity of communicating to others is better at this point of my life. So we don't have that back home. There are many, the American private elite school have it this way, like having extra, but usually it's more our school system is more on learning things, not developing soft skills, communication skills. So that's interesting as a teenager. In terms of society, did you find friends easily? Did you make friends easily when you were in your first years in Canada?
I actually have some comment on this. So they put, because I am English, what do you call it? ESL, English language learner, ESL. What does ESL stand for? English English as a second language.
Yeah.
English as a second language
Yeah.
person. So they put me into a class with
okay.
other English as a second language learner. I understand a model. I understand that people, because this group of people are learning, are what do you call that?
At the same stage of learning.
Yeah, at the same stage of learning. So they put them, the school put us together. But now that I think back, I think, won't it be more beautiful if they put us into regular class where people share their culture? It doesn't have to be because I am from a different culture, that's why I should be with other people who are from a different culture. Canadian also has the Canadian culture. I can also be there and I can still share my culture the same way. And I think if there's one thing that I can change about my past, I would change that.
Like immerse everybody in the same culture.
Because I was in the ESL class, so a lot of my friends are people who are immigrant, but I would really, really want to have friends from
Canada to integrate faster.
And I think that is the true meaning of multiculturalism. It's not about putting people into different category and then say, oh, this place has a lot of culture. It's not like that. It's about people from different culture being in the same place, doing the same thing, sharing their own history and background and culture and values.
Yeah, I understand what you mean, but at the same time, because my mom is a primary teacher and my boyfriend's mother is also a primary teacher, so I kind of understand. It's more like it's more like the way you're gonna learn things will be in a different speed that someone who is native who has been. But I was thinking, this is temporarily, or your whole high school was like that?
It is just for the first semester that we have to go through that, and I understand what you're saying, because like I mentioned, I like what the story that I shared earlier, the Shakespeare story. Exactly. I was in a completely different level. So maybe that's for the best. Yeah,
but that push you, like being immersed with. But I don't know what's the theory, the education theory behind, but I'm sure this is happening in a lot of countries. Some friends living in France, they came with kids, and the kids were this special transition because they coming from Ukraine, they learning the language, etc. So I don't know what's the theory, but you would have preferred being involved, being immersed with Canadian culture, with a Canadian school at the beginning. Yeah, that's interesting. And do people learn, do kids that you shared in the same room coming from different countries, they learned English as fast, or they were like different level of
I think
learning?
It depends on their culture. Some culture are more, for example, I'll give examples that's easier. Philippines is a country that has a lot of immigrants in Canada. So because of that, there in our class, in our ESL class, there are a group of Filipinos. Because there are already a group of Filipinos, a Filipino who come in will very naturally go into that group. And when they have a comfort zone, they will stay in there. And for those, maybe it will be more difficult for them to get out of a comfort zone again into the bigger group.
Trying to socialize out of your language is so hard.
Exactly.
Where does, I wonder, because I love about you that you're always saying trying to put your feet into out of your comfort zone. I love that because it defines your personality. Always taking risks, always learning new things, making making mistakes and everything. But I'm a bit like that, but I don't know where this is coming from. Is it in your case?
Yeah, I think I was never like this before in my life. It started when I had my first job after undergrad. After my first job, I learned to be as confident as I can, and in my job I met different people, met colleagues, and they always share stories, and I feel like, wow, we are at the same age, about the same age, and your stories are much more exciting, and you have much more story to share than what I have. And I realized I really should put myself out there and to see more. My world is this big.
I understand. I understand. Yeah. So living, meeting people from different, who has different stories, different ideas, or who has achieved different things in life. Because we don't need to achieve the same pathway of life.
Yeah.
Some people. Yeah, that's interesting. Let's talk about difference you found when you moved out from BC to Montreal.
Difference.
Yeah.
Difference. The lifestyle difference is different.
Yeah, French, English. That's
French and English, yes, that too. People in Montreal really will take the time to relax. I think people in BC too will do that, but it has a lot of them are families, young families. Families will take their time to relax, but less so for young adults. But you can see more often in here where young adults will take the time to relax.
I heard that the cost of life it's it's higher in BC. That's more expensive. Things might be related to that. Maybe people need a higher income to get by.
For sure. Yeah, rent is expensive, food is expensive, tax is expensive. I mean, breathing is expensive.
Yeah. I was thinking that Montreal is expensive, but you're always telling me like,
Montreal is not expensive.
Oh my god. compared to BC. That's interesting. What's the thing you like most about Montreal that you didn't found it back in BC?
I really like that the city is so vibrant. There's always something happening on a weekend, whether it is winter or summer. There's always a festival or something going on, and if you are willing, you will find something to do. And I think that is something that you cannot find in BC. Maybe in Vancouver you can, but not in Victoria.
I keep hearing the same thing from people out of Montreal, Canadians out of Montreal. That's why they love Montreal, and I don't know why. What can be this? But I feel the same, that there's many activities, whatever you wanna dance, you wanna listen music, jazz festival. And I went this last Friday. There was a salsa festival, people dancing out of the street. Yeah, but I've seen even parks are, as you mentioned, there's always family people enjoying outdoors. So I don't know, it might be because they're people. I think people really appreciate time off here. Family time. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Also. Okay, what's the thing you don't like, or you would prefer? No, not put it. Let's not put it like you don't like, but you think it was better in BC than here.
Things are better.
Or maybe something you miss that you cannot get it here. Yeah, they are not the same. Yeah. Besides your family, what you couldn't find here that you missed about BC?
I think this is because of my language limitation, but in BC I can easily strike up a conversation to a stranger. Like walking on the street, I'll say, "Oh, how's your day? Oh yeah, that's a beautiful bird," and then we'll just have a 5-minute conversation like that. But in here I cannot do that. But I don't think it's something about Montreal. It's something about me. It's because I cannot speak.
Well, soon.
So before going to the last question to Madeline, I want to show you this is the main library building, and there are many different libraries around the campus. And this main building is located in the downtown campus. It's an open public library. Everyone can just go, use the areas, and usually it's open like from 8 a.m. to midnight. Yeah, it's very convenient.
I'm forgetting the last important question. It's like, do you consider yourself a woman?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. And if you consider a woman, then did you become a woman, or you was born as a woman?
That's a very interesting question. When I had some time thinking about this question, I think gender is something that we were taught to be, but then because I am a female bisex, my parents early on treat me like a woman, and that slowly become me, and that's how I identify myself.
Yeah, but is there a point of your life that you said, yeah, I'm a woman? Like,
no, I think part of it has to do with the culture, because in Hong Kong, it's very black and white. You are a woman, you are a man, you are a female, you are a man, and that's never crossed my mind. I've never even know the difference about sex and gender until I came to Canada. Yeah,
happens frequently. Yeah, I understand. Thank you so much for sharing all your stories and
Thank you.
tell us more about you. I'm learning to meeting you. I would love to continue our friendship, and if everybody, if there's any occasion we can have you again,
yes,
maybe discussing another subject.
Yeah, I would love that.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Louise.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Yes, it's done.
Yay,
Thank you.
Oh, you are welcome. Thank you.
I think I forgot many things, but
like what? Like my